This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I don't know whether you've heard that Rutland is going to stage its very own first Jigsaw Festival over the Easter weekend. Joyce Lucas has had the idea after a neighbour moved away down to Hampshire and heard about Jigsaw festivals elsewhere in the country. You're surrounded by jigsaws at the moment, literally.
Yes, the spare bedroom is full. We can't have any visitors at the moment. The hallway is full, the dining room is full, and we've about 170 assembled jigsaws. That means we have to find space for the empty boxes as well.
Now, this is all going to be on display at the Town Council chamber over the Easter weekend, all raising money for Oakham in Bloom. People can come and see them each day of the Easter weekend. They can buy them, and then because you haven't got enough space to display them all, they'll see something different if they come the next day and the next day.
Absolutely. The idea is to display as many as possible. When they're sold, they're broken up and put back into the original boxes, and the next one in the pile will be revealed.
The size of the jigsaws, they're 500, 1,000 piece, that sort of thing. You know, adult kind of jigsaws that people would spend a few days putting together.
We have jigsaws from 20 pieces to 3,000 pieces, which includes children's jigsaws, big pieces for the children to handle. We have jigsaws from landscapes, farmers' markets, locomotives, atlases, maps, crosswords, wild animals, you name it, we've got it. A really big selection.
And you've got local views as well. There's one of Uppingham. There's one of Normanton Church as well, which is being put together as a one-off.
The Uppingham one was a good find. It's a 1,000-piece jigsaw, quartered, and are different views of Uppingham. I'm hoping somebody from Uppingham will come and buy that one. We have a dissectologist, and that is a gentleman who makes jigsaws, working on a photograph of St Matthew's Church, Normanton, supplied by Richard Adams, and that will be on view the whole of the weekend as a raffle. It's a one-off. It won't be happening again. It's just a one-off raffle, so hopefully we'll make it quite a bit of money on that too.
What sort of prices do you think these will be going for? Is it, I suppose it varies depending on what they are, does it?
It depends on the quality. And let's face it, Gibson's Games have sponsored this, and their jigsaws go for quite a high price. These are, of course, our second-hand ones, but we also have about 13 brand new jigsaws from Gibson's Games, and they will be sold just under retail price. But they'll range anything from £1 to £5, £6, £7, depending on the quality of the actual jigsaw.
And I know you're overrun with them, but you can take more until the 1st of April.
Absolutely, yes, the more the merrier, because what we don't sell this year, or what we can't display this year, will go into a bigger festival for 2020.
Rutland's very own Jigsaw Festival, the very first one.
Absolutely. I didn't realise it was going to take off quite so well. And it was originally Oakham Jigsaw Festival. And then we started getting jigsaws from all over the county. And now it's the first Rutland Jigsaw Festival.
Very easy to remember then. Over the Easter weekend, people just literally head to Victoria Hall, turn into the council chamber, and they will see a selection displayed that will be ever-changing.
Yes, please. And if you don't do jigsaws, please come and have a look and give us a donation for Oakham in Bloom for this coming year's planting of 5,000 plants. We have to get the money together to spend on plants to beautify the town.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
Joe Lloyd, beat officer for Oakham and Barleythorpe. Just a quick reminder and a bit of an update in relation to the recruitment event that I'm hosting next Thursday, which is the 14th of this month. It's going to be held at the King Centre in Barleythorpe around about 6:45. Please do sign up. It gives us an idea how many chairs we need to put out. So if I need to put 5 out, I'll put 5 out, but hopefully up to about 30 like we did last year. It's a really exciting opportunity for people to come and see what we do. It's a warts and all type discussion. I will tell you the realities of policing. It's great fun policing, but there are some things that aren't so great, and I think people should be forewarned before applying to join us. So please come along. Really excited to see as many people as possible. Thanks.
Rutland Radio.
My name is Robert Kerwin. I'm an independent broadband advisor, looking and working with Rutland County Council to increase and improve broadband take-up across the county.
And this is all about getting the fastest that you can get in your area, and for most of Rutland that is achievable and accessible.
Absolutely. So 95% of Rutland has superfast broadband available. Businesses and residential properties across the county, and that has been available for some time now. The latest rollout is bringing superfast broadband to around the last 500 properties across the county.
And is it just the case that if you see on your road, you see one of those green cabinets whirring away, that means that it's achievable?
Absolutely. So those green cabinets are the last point of connection between your house and the exchange. If you see a green cabinet, it's a good way to think that you will be able to get superfast broadband.
So this last few homes, these are the ones that are really in the sticks, the ones that are right at the end of the exchange copper, as it were.
Yeah, so these are the homes that are really hard to reach. So these are the homes that are directly connected to an exchange where they currently can't be provided. These are the homes that are a long way away from an exchange, and this last phase of the rollout is to get those homes connected and make superfast broadband available to everyone.
So that is happening at the moment. That last few is just kind of being hoovered up, as it were.
Yeah, that's happening right now. That's an ongoing process between Rutland County Council and Openreach, and you'll start to see those last homes become available soon.
So the idea of superfast broadband, people may just think, oh, well, I've got broadband, that's enough. I mean, what does superfast really give the average person? And is it more useful for, say, families when there's a lot of people on the internet?
I think that it has many use cases. I think families is a really good example because if you've got kids or grandkids, you'll have people on multiple devices, multiple phones, maybe a PlayStation or an Xbox, maybe smart TVs. Your main television provider now will be downloading from iPlayer, from Channel 4, ITV On Demand. You'll be using services like music streaming services, perhaps Netflix or Amazon Music and Amazon Video On Demand. So this service is based on providing superfast broadband for everyone, and really the use case is that everyone could take advantage of it, and every person in every home would see a big increase in what they're able to do online, even if that's just a case that they may FaceTime or Skype their friends or their family across the county, the country or the world in much higher quality, and you really will see the difference.
And I'm speaking to you after the first of 8 presentations. Obviously, it's early days as to what people are going to be asking. But what is people's main concern and question?
I mean, we've just had the first event, which has gone really well with a positive turnout. I think a lot of people don't really understand the difference between what they were sold a few years ago and what's available now. And these roadshows are about bringing people up to date with what's available in their local area. They're about showing people the advantages of what they get, encouraging them to talk to their current suppliers, because it may be that it's available and they don't have it, or they already have it and they don't know they've got it and how to take advantage of it. So really this is about information and about providing the tools for people to make the most of what's available.
Now, Digital Rutland was all kind of founded, I suppose, on the benefit that Rutland being a small county, it was easier to get it connected faster. As you say, we're just heading towards the end of that. How are we doing in terms of superfast broadband? I know you had some figures a couple of years ago, but what would be your best estimate, really?
Yeah, so right now Rutland has a coverage of just over 95%. So that's 95% of homes and businesses in Rutland which are covered. The last stat said that 63% of businesses, so properties, residential and businesses, had taken up superfast broadband across the county. We believe that's a lot higher now. Without any detailed stats, I couldn't say exactly what that is, but the people that we talk to, uptake has been really, really good. Anything
else to add about this week? That, I suppose it's open to anyone and open anyone that uses the internet will get something from it, I guess.
Well, I think exactly. Come on down, because there may be questions answered that you hadn't thought of. There may be new services available in your local area that you didn't know. And come and listen, have a drink with us, and really just enjoy the hour and take as much from it as you possibly can.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
We're actually the breeders, Neil and Angie Allen.
What an amazing weekend for you at Crufts, and putting Rutland on the map. I mean, that's the thing that we really love.
Yes, being such a small county, it's so proud to just say, yes, we're from Rutland. The Kennel Club press guy did say, where? So I did have to explain whereabouts we were, and he says, oh yes, it is a beautiful place, isn't it?
So tell us about the 3 awards which actually you came back with.
The first evening was Thursday. That was the junior warrant final. This is all dogs from 6 to 18 months of age. Firstly, they have to get 25 points at open shows and championship shows, and then through the summer of 18 we get the quarterfinals, where we get down to about 100 dogs. And then from those 100 dogs in November, we go to the O2, Discover Dogs, the big one. And then we're judged yet again with 2 different judges. And the final 10 get to go to Crufts in the big ring. And that's where we ended up runner-up to the English Toy Terrier.
That's just one award that you're talking about.
Yep, that was the first one Thursday. And then Friday evening, we were back in the big ring again with the Allmark team. And that consisted of 4 of us, 2 blue males, 2 black tries. And we actually had the outfits made. My husband found the material when we were in Cape Town in January, and we found a tailoress called Wendy, and she made all the costumes up for us just to achieve that. Obviously top breeder in that big ring. That's again done on a point system throughout the year, and then the final judging, I believe, starts around 40 teams, and that was made up of people that have got, obviously our dogs, we've got 2, but there was Pete from Grantham with one of our breeding, and Dave from Malton, North Yorkshire also. That was with Silas, and Pete was with Cato, and then we had Vogue and Alvin that's running around you now.
Your final award that you came away with?
Was International Junior Handler. Obviously not myself. The girl was from Australia, and they come all the way from all over the world. There was 42 young people from 11 to 18 years of age. So we supplied dogs for Russia and Australia. They go in to start with 8:30 in the morning, and they have a swap dog. Then they go back in with their original dogs. And she took the overall title of International Junior of the Year with Vogue.
This whole achievement, I know it's not the first time you've been recognised at Crufts, but it's such a well-known event. Everyone talks about Crufts when they talk about dogs. People who aren't necessarily into dogs are watching it on the TV across the weekend. It's a huge thing, isn't it?
It's massive, and after you put all the time and effort in, the travelling, I'm lucky to have an excellent groomer, chauffeur and best buddy, my husband Neil, that does so much work. There's also Mark, that's obviously the kennel manager, that when we're away he's in complete charge, helps with the exercise. It is a team effort.
And how does it feel actually being in that big ring, you know, when you've got TV cameras around, you've got press photographers, you've got all the audience there and everything, you know, being on show right there?
Even after 40 years, it still sends a tingle down my spine. It's just as soon as you're in that entrance to go in, it's difficult to explain. It's just a very special moment.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Thank you, David. I'm here at Campus Sports Centre. Their 24-hour sportathon for Comic Relief continues till 7:30 tomorrow morning. I'm here with Sammy Pocock from Campus Sports Centre. You're doing rounders now. It's just basically loads of team sports, I suppose, to get you through.
Yeah, so we're just doing loads of activities. So we've done from 10:30 till 2:30 is going to be our children's activities, well, mixed with families, and then the rest of it's all for over 16s. So lots of team games, ball games, just having a lot of fun, really.
Have you been involved with this sort of stuff before? Because I know you've done events right the way through the night before here.
Yeah, so I organised the event last time, which was tough, but this year it's going to be even better. We've got lots more people attending.
People can literally pop down, and on the half hour is when you change, basically.
Yeah, so every half hour we're changing, doing a different sport. So if they want to come along, please do. Pop a little bit of change if you've got some in the bucket, and we're trying to raise as much as we can.
And there's all sorts of stuff going on later, I know. For instance, Quidditch about 11:30
yeah,
tonight.
Yeah, playing a game of Muggle Quidditch. I don't know how that's going to go. Should be fun. Yeah, we're doing some grit cardio at 2:30 in the morning, some netball.
And all for an amazing cause, Red Nose Day, Comic Relief as well.
Yeah, so it's all going to a good cause, even better.
Do people have to pay to play, or are you looking for donations?
donations? Just sort of
Any donations, we're not asking for anything from anyone. We've got fruit and water that's been donated from Tesco's, which is great. So everything's going to a good cause and all for a good charity.
And how do you get through the night on something like this?
Lots of energy drinks. Just high morale from everyone. It's pushing everyone through, so it's really good.
Sammy, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. Good luck with the rest of it.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk. This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week. It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani, welcoming back from Rutland Community Ventures, Ben Searle. Now, Ben, last time you were in, you were talking about these workshops that you were doing, these activities at Oakham Castle on Tuesday for those with early stage dementia. Very small groups, very much a trial, but very successful so far.
They have been incredibly successful, yes. We are currently halfway through the second series. We are completely full, and we're almost every week introducing new people who come down to have a look to see whether or not it's something that would be suitable for them. And in most cases it absolutely is, and they are very well received. And you know, it's thanks to the support of Rutland County Council and their funding that this, and their sort of foresight really, that this is all happening. We're looking for funding from local charities, local organisations, to fund a further 3 series of the workshops to take us through the spring and the summer. We're looking at running 1 further series in Oakham and 2 in Uppingham.
Well, that's what I know you were basically setting out to prove and to offer this community service, that those with early stage dementia would get so much out of just a couple of hours with a calming environment in the room, just with about a dozen people, and they've done all sorts of different things, haven't they, so far?
They have, yes. They're a right old mix of stuff. We've done printing, we've even built ukuleles out of margarine tubs, we've sung and danced, we've drawn. This week we were making collages and printing and stamping and all that kind of thing. And in fact, we were very privileged to have the UK Needle Crafter of the Year running a workshop as well, which is quite fantastic. Gives you an idea of the standard of the artists who are coming in and working with us. Next week we're doing felting, and we have somebody coming in writing songs we're going to be writing songs with them, and we finish off right at the end with some more ceramics and pottery. So it's a real wide range of stuff, and it's been fantastic.
So if people listening would like to support this in any way, get in touch with Rutland Community Ventures.
Yes, so you can email us at info@rutlandcommunityventures.uk, and we'd be very, very happy to talk to you, and very grateful for any donations we might receive. And thanks for having me on, Rob. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ben, for coming in and chatting about what a successful project this is.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
Steve Bowyer, I'm Chief Exec of Invest SK.
And we're here at the Celebrate the High Street event, which I know you're doing in all the towns across South Kesteven. We're here in Stamford with jugglers, poetry, art, all sorts of things really, I suppose, to further bring quite a vibrant high street to life, because Stamford always feels like that.
Stamford's a brilliant town. It's got fantastic shops and cafes and bars, but we want to make people even more aware how great it is. And the idea of this today is to really celebrate our high street, have some fun. I'm just looking at the panto dame and a pink fairy in the corner. I've got the arts going on here and the poetry. My daughter's just had a poem written for her, and that's the point. It really is that the high street isn't just about shopping. It's about enjoying yourself, having fun, and really mixing it up a bit. And we're really pleased to support each of the market towns across South Kesteven, and especially here today for me in Stamford.
So how does Invest SK fit into everything? Because we know, for instance, South Kesteven District Council run the normal Friday market that we see, and some of this. The Town Council look after a lot of the local things. The County Council look after the highways, including, dare I talk about, the sets, the stroke cobbles that are in the square. How does Invest SK kind of add to that?
Of course, so Invest SK is a private company. We're owned by the District Council, and we were established by the leader Matthew Lee for a really clear purpose: to be out there in and amongst local businesses, local organisations, local creative artists, and actually be one with them effectively so that we can work with them, feed back into the council what some of the challenges, some of the opportunities might be, whether it's around business growth, around investment, whether it's supporting independent businesses like the Shop Stamford campaign, whether it's heritage. Stamford's hugely rich, but it needs a little bit of help sometimes. We're not here to do everything. What we are here to do is find out where we can help, where we can make things come forward more quickly and more successfully. So, yeah, we're a private business owned by the council, working in and amongst local organisations.
And we've heard about money being available, and people have linked £2,500 to today, but you say they're actually separate.
Yeah, so there's £2,500 which we've set aside for each of the market towns when they get a representative body come forward and say how they'd like to promote their market towns even further. There is money available for local businesses to grow and fill vacant units, so creating new jobs but filling vacant units in our towns, that's up to £10,000. But there's also small grants for heritage organisations, for arts and cultural organisations and independent artists. So yeah, I mean, it really is a case of us bringing forward the ways and means for people to achieve what they're striving to achieve, not us telling them what to do.
Rutland Radio.
I'm Dr. Tom Eames. I'm a GP in Lakeside, Stamford.
And this new way of consulting, of actually doing it via an app, tell us how it works.
Well, it's basically lots of people have come across ways of using their mobile phones to be able to communicate. Lots of people are digital natives, so they will be spending a lot of the time accessing things through certain social media. What we really wanted to do was offer them a similar sort of experience in terms of being able to access general practice appointments. So what they do is when they call into the surgery, they will be offered either a face-to-face appointment or a telephone appointment traditionally, and also now these digital appointments, which means they will sign up for an app, and then via their mobile phone or via a web browser they can see a GP and talk to a GP and have, to all intents and purposes, which is very similar to a traditional consultation.
So is it face-to-face then, effectively? Do you come up on the screen and then you can see exactly what's going on?
Absolutely. For anybody that's used video communication, then it's exactly the same. On the web browser, they will see my face and I can see them. We can talk through in the way that we would talk through if we were sitting in a room together, and to a degree we can do some examination, which is obviously better than telephone consultations can be.
And is this something that Lakeside are actually doing that's kind of at the forefront? Is you one of the first people to be doing it?
Well, absolutely. There are practices all over the country who are entertaining this idea, but as far as I'm aware, locally, this is something that we've, as Lakeside, have initiated, and we're very keen to see what the uptake is like. And it's we appreciate it. It may not appeal to absolutely everybody, but for the people that do, it will be fantastic. For the people who are less happy with digital consultations, it opens up more traditional face-to-face appointments to see their GP.
And does it work in the same sort of hours that general practice works, from morning through to late?
Well, actually, at the moment, we're trialling it outside of our normal hours, so it may, by its definition, be the people who are naturally would be working during the daytime. So it's something that we've trialled between 6:30 and 8 o'clock on certain weekday evenings, and on Sundays now as well, to complement the additional appointments that we've also put on outside of normal hours.
And just thinking of what people may do in terms of, if they do have a problem at that sort of time, then they're quite likely to speak to 111 and speak to a practitioner on there. This is purely the kind of medical advice you would want if you came to the doctors.
Yes, I mean, yes, it is. It's not an emergency service to replace 111, but it is a doctor's appointment with their own surgery, with somebody who has access to all of their medical records, which of course some of the out-of-hour services don't have.
And is it also the fact that you're mentioning about early evening? Are you finding as a practice that we hear both sides? In my personal experience, it's quite straightforward to get an appointment here if you need it, but to kind of lessen that sudden rush of sort of 8:30, everyone's trying to ring at the same time.
Absolutely, and that's something that we constantly look at, is the ability for patients to be able to access our service. I mean, after all, that's why we're here, so that we can provide a good service to all of our patients. So yes, traditionally there have been rushes at certain times of the day, and as it stands at the moment, the digital appointments are there, so we can accommodate people very quickly in those.
And what's been your experience of using it so far?
It's different, and it relies on the internet working on both ends. But when it does, it appears to be an excellent service. It gives me more than my telephone consultations would do, and the feedback from the people who've used it has been very good.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
Various different things. I mean, first off, I just mentioned to you about 2.5 hours of continuous bell ringing in celebration of your year at the village church in your village. What an incredible way to, I suppose, start to bow out, but there's still many things happening in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I hadn't realised it was going to happen. And then it was mentioned to me that I might like to go and listen to the bells. And I popped up, and 2.5 hours later they finished. But they actually accomplished the full ring, which was just brilliant.
And, I mean, we don't always get to see everything that you're doing, but I know you spent some time with the police on the streets very recently.
I did. I've spent time with our own police in Rutland and in Leicestershire. I've been to the special units in Nottingham, also around Leicestershire, where they have support teams, and then the other evening I was on the beat for a late night shift in the city centre. So I spent time in the custody suite, seeing how they process prisoners and or people who are alleged to have done various things. The guy who was with us has skipped bail, so he was doing a night in the cell before taking his place in the magistrate's court the following morning.
And how different is it, the experience actually on the streets in Leicester? Because, without we don't want to get political about it, but a lot of the police resources at night end up in the city just with a sheer number of people. What was your impression of that, in terms of the busyness of what the police were up to?
It is a very difficult job. I have to say, I take my hat off to them. It takes a certain kind of person. They've got to be resilient, they've got to be resourceful, but they've also got to treat the people on the streets with respect. And because of that, they have several policemen designated to do just that. They know their patch inside out, and they can spot strangers in it, which is a great advantage. Rather like our police in Rutland, they know everybody or nearly everybody, and the stranger will stand out quite clearly. In Leicester, because it's so large and so busy, very, very different kind of a job. Rural policing has its challenges. Theirs are different, but they also have challenges too.
We're speaking here at Cottesmore Academy. You've been to every single school throughout your High Sheriff year, talking about what you do, what your role is. There must have been some very interesting questions from what you wear to what you do and where you appear.
There have. I primarily come in here and talk about the role of High Sheriff, but in relationship with law and order. That is what my year has been about. And I talk about children becoming ambassadors. They all sign up to it quite happily. I have threatened I will come back into school and check that they're doing it. But I've had some very amusing occasions where I am often identified as the Queen or Mary Poppins. That has come to the surface quite often. They are very, very knowledgeable when it comes to the sword, and they can tell me in detail exactly what it does and what it is. Far more, I have learnt, actually, so much more from them. They are far more knowledgeable about it than I am. But it's been an absolute delight, and the questions they have asked have all been so well thought out, and a lot of them resourced. So it's not an easy ride. You have to be very willing to step up to the plate and answer their questions truthfully.
And reflecting on this year so far, it must just literally be, you know for a long time before, you hit the ground running, you experience all these things that happen in the county, some of which I guess you wouldn't have experienced before.
Oh, the opportunities are absolutely amazing. And the one thing which really has stood out in my year is how welcoming and how informative people are. They truly make you very welcome. You never feel it's an imposition, and it's an absolute delight to go out and about into the county and outside the county. We have lots of legal services in the other counties where you are made just as welcome. Totally enjoyable. It's been a wonderful year.
And how would you sum up our county and the way that it links together?
We are very fortunate here because we're rural, we have beautiful villages, we have what on the surface appears to be very straightforward lifestyle, a very straightforward lifestyle. We are facing challenges, and I don't think any of us should be ever complacent. We have encroachment from other counties who probably have more challenging problems than we have, but we shouldn't feel that will never affect us. It possibly will, and I think it's up to all of us to make the effort to stop that happening.
And any words of advice for your successor, Margaret Miles from Clipsham, who will be taking this role come the 11th of April?
Go out and enjoy it with both arms, embrace it, because it's a fabulous year. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
So, Sharon, thank you very much for joining us on Rutland Radio. It's been lovely to see you out and about so much over the last year, and thank you for sharing your time today.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Thank you.
Rutland Radio.
My name's Robina Hill. I'm Managing Director of Looms of Stamford Watch and Clockmakers, and I was part of arranging for our watches to summit Everest with the Gurkha climbing team, originally in 2015. Unfortunately, there was an earthquake, and then they summited in 2017.
And we're here to mark, I suppose, the closing chapter of a crazy couple of years, really, of sending 2 hand-built watches with thicker oil, all ready for that kind of atmosphere up there.
Absolutely.
They worked, they came back down, people have bought them. Absolutely,
yes. We sent the watches up Everest, the Gurkha climbing team. They summited. We all thought it would be over in a year, but it's dragged on for 4 years, and this is the closing chapter. And we're finally, this is like a thank you to all those people who supported us through the journey, if you like, from 2015. And so we're thanking the people of Stamford, the people of Lincolnshire. So we have representatives, the Mayor, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, thanking the people of Nepal, the Nepali Embassy that were very supportive, the 2 charities, the Mountain Trust and the Gurkha Welfare Trust, who benefited from it, Johnny Fenn, who supported us, who's a former Gurkha. Many former Gurkhas are here today, I shall tell you, all of whom have been very, very supportive of the entire venture, as well as a representative from the Worshipful Company of Clockmakers and the British Horological Institute, because at the end of the day, we are watching clockmakers.
And although we're closing that chapter today, on £22,500, you've been out there, you've seen the difference that
yes.
is making, and that continual rebuild that they've got over there.
Yes, and it, as you can imagine, money in Nepal stretches a lot further than it does in the United Kingdom. As people have seen from sort of Comic Relief and other things, that the money does. So £22,500 will make a huge difference. And what they're primarily trying to do, both the charities, both the Mountain Trust and the Gurkha Welfare Trust, is they're trying to rebuild earthquake-safe homes. And this is what they're doing. And some people are now ending up with homes they never dreamt that they would ever own and live in. So it's a very, very worthwhile cause. And I would say to anybody, contribute to Nepal. It is it's an extraordinary and very special place on earth. And the people are very special. I fell in love with Nepal. I fell in love with the people, the culture, the country. And it is a part of the world that we all need to preserve and look after. It is the highest point on the planet.
And what a legacy you've been able to gift back through your work as well.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think we all have to give back. You know, we're all on this earth to try and make the world a nicer place, I hope.
My name is Charles Malcolm Brown, and I'm the chairman of the Mountain Trust.
And we're here really to, as I was saying to Rabina, close a chapter on an incredible few years of fundraising, of expedition, of wondering whether actually that would work, and it so did.
It's been a roller coaster of a journey, one that you could never have predicted at the outset. And it was just blown aside, really, with the first two quakes in 2015. Back they went, back they trained, back they went and succeeded. What a wonderful, wonderful expedition. What a fantastic thing that you can combine creative British thinking with superlative English watchmaking, British Gurkhas' bravery and logistics, and it all comes together. And the upshot is that we've been able to rebuild over 10 houses to earthquake-proof standards near to the epicentre of the very first earthquake. What a fantastic result.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Mr. Bhandari, Kamal Bhandari. Actually, I live in Grantham, and today I am here as a representative of Nepalese Embassy, UK, and I'm going to go to read the message from Our Excellency, Mr. Durgabadur Suvedi. He sent me the letter, so I'm going to read that for today. Yeah.
And the devastation of the earthquakes that ripped your country apart.
Yeah.
Just here to see one part, really, one local part for us of the fundraising, of the support, actually coming back to your country. You must be overwhelmed, really, with the amount of people who are still thinking and caring all these years on about what happens.
Yeah, it is. Before that, I want to say the relationship between Britain and Nepal is not normal relationship. All the citizens of Nepalese, they think this is the not only the country relation. There is very good person and person-wise relations, and many times, if even in Nepal, whatever happened or any time, the Britain is there. They're hoping that way. And we found that time as well that earthquake devastation, it was very helpful, and I would like to thank you for that now as well. Yes, it is very good and very helpful, and the people was feeling that help, whatever done from here.
And as well as the money raised today, I know locally to here, there's a group that once again is going out in the Easter holidays to build a school in a part of Nepal. So many people in the UK are giving back.
Yes, in many sectors, the British people, the Gorkha welfare, mountain welfare, even other charities, they're doing very fantastic job and helping the people wherever needed. And I hope this amount is a big amount today also raised here. It will be goes in right place, and that might help to the place where it needed.
Rutland Radio.
My name is Piers Lawson, and I look after all our major donors, so the supporters, individuals who've supported us substantially over the years.
And we're here to mark the end of a couple of years now of fundraising that Looms & Co have done by sending watches up with the Gurkhas.
Yes.
The money, I understand, was raised through the Mountain Trust as well?
Right. The story, there were two watches that Looms made, which were given to two separate teams who were ascending Everest. The Gurkha Welfare Trust was one, and the Mountain Trust was the other organisation. And so the Gurkha Welfare Trust took two watches to the summit of Everest in 2017. And these watches were effectively owned by the two charities, and then they sold them afterwards, and the money raised was given to the two charities.
Now, the fundraising is going to Nepal, I know, through the Mountain Trust, but tell us about the Gurkha Welfare Trust and where that money will go. Well, obviously just about £11,000.
Yes, we all the money raised for any project for the Gurkha Welfare Trust is used in Nepal, And we use that primarily to provide a pension to those veterans, Gurkha veterans, who have returned to Nepal, people who were not given a pension by the British government. Now, that was the original core purpose of setting up the charity, but since then we've expanded and we now provide, we rebuild schools, we rebuild homes that have been damaged by earthquake or are just not unfit to live in. We provide fresh, clean, safe water to communities. We provide a extensive medical welfare program to all members of the Gurkha community, wives, children of former veterans.
And as far as this expedition actually going up the mountain, there's a real kind of spirit within the Gurkhas in terms of an expedition kind of determination of being, that corner of the army.
Well, this was the first time that any organisation has managed to put serving Gurkhas on the summit of Everest. So that was a huge achievement. We managed 13 soldiers and officers managed to reach the summit on the second attempt, bearing in mind the first attempt was in 2015, and that was severely hampered and eventually prevented by the earthquakes that took place in April in Nepal.
And the rebuild project, I know, will take many, many years. I know of a group locally who are going out to build a school in Nepal during the Easter holidays. There's so much still to be done.
There's a great deal more to be done. We have, since the earthquakes, rebuilt nearly 1,500 homes for those pensioners or widows whose homes were destroyed or severely damaged by the earthquake. So we've rehoused a large number of people, and we've recently decided to continue that progress, and we are building 100 earthquake-proof homes per year for the next 3 years to provide safe homes for Gurkha veterans.
And just going back to why we're here today, sending an expensive hand-built watch up a mountain, it's not something you come across every day, but the fact that actually two went up there is a huge achievement.
It's a great achievement. Fantastically generous offer by Looms to make these watches and then to give them effectively to us to do with what we will. And the provenance of owning a watch that has been on the summit of Everest, along with the flag that was also taken to the summit, is a lovely possession. And to know that money has been raised and given by a very generous purchaser, it's fantastic, and it'll be used very wisely, and any money given, we always need it. There's a lot to be done in Nepal, as you've already mentioned.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
Steve Leeson from Leeson's Butchers.
I just really wanted to know, because, you'll see different percentages of fat in mince in the supermarket. As butchers, is that really easy to do?
Yeah, we just trim everything out of it and just mince it. Nothing added.
What you see here would be the kind of 5% fat anyway.
Yeah, that'll be 5% or less. That's as lean as you get.
And that's just the normal stuff that you would buy from a butcher's.
That's
basically.
just our normal mince.
Rutland Radio.
Air Vice Marshal Nigel Sudbury, and I am president of the Oakham branch of the British Legion.
When I spoke to you last at the Rutland Poppy Project at Catmus College, you alluded to the fact that there was going to be a grant for the first time in years from the British Legion spent in Rutland, and here we are today.
That's absolutely right, and I think we all as a committee are delighted that has happened, not only to a very worthwhile cause, very worthwhile, but also that people are able to see in Rutland, for all the efforts that they put in to collect for the poppy season, that they're seeing something come back to that, for the sake of repeating myself, very, very worthwhile cause. And you've seen some of that today as we've walked around.
And this for you actually is very close to home, because your children actually went to this school.
They did indeed when the tornadoes were here, should I dare mention that, Rob. And I was doing the operational conversion unit. Both Emma and Charlie were here, and they remember it very well, and they remember the staff that looked after them very well indeed.
And in terms, that's a big cheque that you presented today, which will go a long way, I know, in so many different ways at the school.
It is, and we're going to come back. They can't just get off the loose. We want to see what they've done out of it. Not you've got to do this and you've got to do that. We'd be really grateful if the head and the staff would have us back so we can have a look around and see the changes.
And you'd encourage people actually to talk to you if there is a project which they're doing, which could possibly benefit from British Legion money.
Yes, indeed. And I think this is as I said earlier, this is a very positive side, and nobody can remember when a grant was last given. But frankly, I would like to see more, and I think all of you would like to see more, for the benefit of children of service families. But I do stress that it is children of service families.
Rutland Radio's Best Bits on the podcast.
So my name's Annika Bellett, and I am the assistant head teacher, and I'm also the Senko here.
And nearly £7,000 from the British Legion. As we heard, it needs to go to a project which serves military children, and you couldn't get closer really to that here.
Yeah, I mean, as a school, we're very unique. So we have 100% service children here. We are all behind the wire as well. So most of our families actually live on the base as well. We're really, really excited about the money that we've been donated, and we've got massive plans for the future to use it.
And what sort of things are you going to be spending it on? Is it all earmarked ready?
In the bids that we put forward, it was very specific in the two uses that we wanted for it. So the first use is for our family room. As you've seen today, we have a lovely space that we can use for a family room. What's really important to us as a school is that we get our families in as much as possible. And that is not just through parents' evenings and the generic things that average schools would do, but it's also about having a whole community feel. As I said, most of our parents live on the base, and what we'd really like to do is have that family room to be like a living room. So completely different to the average school setting. We'd really like to have the younger children, so all of our toddlers coming in for a mother and baby group here, and just to be able to give as much support to our parents as possible.
And the other use?
So our second use is going to be for our sensory room. So as the Special Educational Needs Coordinator for the school, we've got quite a high percentage of SEN, and we've got one of the highest percentages of SEN for the whole of Rutland. So for that, we'd really need to have a room to cater for all the children's needs. So we've got quite a percentage of children with autism, and we've also got quite a high percentage of children with social, emotional and mental health needs as well. So for us, with that agenda being so high at the moment, we really need to support them the best way we can. So we're looking at completely renovating that room so it looks nothing like a classroom, having a dark den, bubble tubes, sensory experiences for all of our children.
And life here can be very different to life for the average Rutland primary school child, because people are leaving all the time, there's new ones joining all the time, they're travelling all over with their family.
It certainly is. Our mobility as a school is absolutely huge. 2 years ago our mobility was 185%. Now I didn't really realise that you could get over 100%.
That's more than 100% in a year, is that how it works?
Yeah, so how that is that because we have children coming and going within the school year, it can be huge. Put that into perspective, we're also losing 75% of our school at the end of this term because we have a battalion change. So we have a new battalion coming over from Cyprus, and then our battalion here will be leaving us. So the mobility in that terms is huge. But also you have to take into consideration that these children have active service personnel as their family members. So mums and dads do go away on a regular basis. And in some cases, depending on which deployment they're on, some of them have very little contact with mum or dad for quite a stretch. That is very difficult to deal with when you're looking at children that are very young.
And all schools have their funding challenges, but when you have children with their parents who are then with them throughout the school life, from reception up to year 6, they build up a relationship with the school, they support the school, and you have that kind of drive of say a PTA or Parents and Friends Association. That must be so hard to do here.
It really is. When you're looking at the average stay is about 2 years in our school, it can be really difficult to encourage our parents to come in and support our school. They really do the best that they can, but we do have an issue at the moment with our Parents Association. So it is just a couple of lovely ladies that are really championing it for the school today, and you saw all those cakes that one of them, Mrs. Brady, made today. But it can be a challenge, and it is hard to raise the funds that we need. I think also what our biggest issue is not necessarily just the parents, because they give as much as they can. Our massive issue is that obviously most schools with where we are MOD funded, particularly the overseas schools, we are not MOD funded. We are an academy, we're in Rutland Learning Trust, so we have the same amount of money as most other schools do. I think what our children and our parents find difficult is when they come from the overseas schools, is that they're used to having lots of things in place for their children because of the military funding, and we do not get any of that in our school.
So the whole job is harder, basically.
Yeah, it is. It's really difficult, but we absolutely love it here. Everybody who works at Cottesmore Academy is 100% committed to our military children. They are very, very special children, and I know personally I wouldn't want to work anywhere else.
Rutland Radio.
And later on today, some of the stars of our radio stations actually on TV, Matt Hutchinson and Ross Carrick, both of which you'll have heard over the years on Rutland Radio. Last year, in the midst of the Burley Horse Trials, when no one could get anywhere in town, somehow they made it down to Stamford Meadows because they're on bargain hunt at lunchtime today. Ross, how was it for you without giving away the result on this whole thing? How did you get into bargain hunt? Is it like an audition process for it?
Well, there's a bit of a story there, to be honest, because you have to fill in this really long-winded form online. And basically the story goes that me and Matt had been saying to each other for months, we should do this. And one night we got round to it. It was quite late at night. Like we'd been sat, watching TV, chatting and whatever, and we eventually got round to it, only to click submit on the form, and then Matt's internet went, so the whole thing crashed. So we had to patiently go through the whole thing again and fill the whole form in again, which, did take quite a while, but obviously it was worth it. It was quite a while before we heard back, like a couple of months before they got back to us. But like a phone call out of the blue saying, we got your application and we'd quite like to have a chat with you and hopefully get you on. And it kind of all went from there, like numerous phone calls and just chatting back and forth on email and eventually saying, we'd like you to come and film.
And you filmed in and around Stamford, and you went to the Antiques Fair that was on the Meadows. I remember the Saturday because it was beautiful weather, wasn't it? Really nice and warm, real late summer weather.
It was actually, I don't want to sound like I'm a spoilsport, but it was too hot.
Yes.
Like wandering around that fair, and obviously when you're filming, whatever you do, like you walk up to a stall and you buy something, but then of course you have to do the whole thing like 4 or 5 times again. They want to film you from the left and the right and from the forward and the backwards shot and whatever, and you have to remember exactly what you did in what order, which is kind of hard to remember anyway. When the sun is beating down on you, as I say, I don't want to sound like a spoil sport, but by the end of the day, you were just like ready for copious amounts of cold drink to try and get yourself through it.
And you don't want to look sweaty on camera either, most importantly. You don't want to look shiny and haggard.
Definitely, well, hopefully not. No, you definitely don't want to look like that. And obviously, they're thinking about the continuity as well. So if they use like 3 or 4 different shots, there might be one where you've only just started and you look fine, and then another one where you're like dripping in sweat. And what happened in the space of 2 seconds?
So what sort of stuff were you looking for then when you were searching around? Did you have something in mind that you thought, I'm going to get one of these because that will go well?
Yes, we'd agreed we wanted kind of like a corgi toy, because Matt's kind of into that thing. He'd collected it and I was more than happy with that. So that was one of them, because obviously you've got to get 3 items. Another one was I collect mugs, like old advertising mugs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we'd said that'd be quite nice. Obviously, that wasn't going to make much money. So Gary, who was our expert, we kind of said we want something like a mug that will make maybe a bit of money. So he helped us along with that. And then the final one, we were really struggling. So Gary said, hang on a second, look at this. I think it will make you some money. Whether it did, I'm not going to say anymore, but that was kind of the way it went. But it's weird because you have, 45 minutes, or is it an hour? I think it's an hour. And you're so aware of the time, and you can easily wander around the fair and like 15 minutes has gone and you haven't bought anything, and you don't really want to leave it till the last minute because then you'll potentially buy something that's not going to make you any profit. So even though it looks quite chilled out, at the same time you've got lots going through your mind when you're filming it.
And were you red or blue for people looking out later?
We were the blue team.
And how did it feel actually being gifted this money to spend?
you basically have £300 worth of somebody else's money to spend. You film your little bit at the start where you're having a chat with the presenter. Natasha is the presenter, as you'll see later on, because they have 4 presenters that all take it in turn. So it was Natasha with us. And it's all kind of staged, if you like. So she hands you the money on camera, literally a wad of £300, but that is the only time you physically touch that money or see it.
I was going to say, I thought actually if they were going to actually leave you the money, I mean, not everyone is as trustworthy as you, Ross.
You go around with a cameraman, a sound man, a lighting man and whatever, and then you have a runner with you, and the runner is doing all the bits and pieces off camera with the sellers. So once you've bought something, they actually hand the physical money over. So it's only that one time on the camera at the start, right at the start of the programme, that you ever actually see or touch the money. Elsewhere, they deal with it all for you.
And the one big question I want to ask you, because this is when this was filmed, it was the busiest Saturday Stamford ever has in the whole calendar because the horse trials was on. Where on earth did you park?
So I was because me and Matt arrived separately, and kind of the green room, if you like, where everyone was meeting and mingling and whatever, was the George Hotel. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, just up from the Meadows, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody was meeting there, and you had to arrive quite early. So, and me being the organised person I am, wanted to be there nice and early. Didn't want to walk in like the late schoolboy and be really embarrassed. So I was there quite early. So everyone else was arriving, talking about this terrible traffic, and I had no clue what anybody was talking about. I was like, what traffic? I've kind of just rolled in here, no problem at all.
Yeah.
And then Matt rocks up like 20 minutes late because he got stuck in the traffic. He's like, oh, it's a nightmare out there. I says, oh, you should have done what I did, arrived 20 minutes early and you'd have been absolutely fine. So we could park at the hotel. That was all arranged and whatever. And that was kind of the base, the go-to place, because they filmed 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So obviously there's loads of waiting around while they're filming the other episodes. So I remember me and Matt walking into to Stamford Town Centre, and I've never, like you say, I'd never seen traffic like it. There was just through the town centre, just miles worth of standing traffic. And I said to Matt, when is this traffic ever going to get moving again? It looked like it was like set in stone, never ever going to move.
Yeah.
So that was quite lucky that, the hotel was somewhere we could park, else I think it might have been a bit more of a stressful experience trying to find a parking space.
Yeah, that's 100,000 people. I think it might have been 160,000, something ridiculous. A massive amount of people all going to the big day for the cross-country for the Burley Horse Trials. But we'll see you on TV at lunchtime today. And as you say, no spoilers, but look out for the blue team flying the flag for Rutland Radio and the sister stations.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to it and kind of not. I feel like they reckon that 2 million people watch it every lunchtime. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing.
You won't be able to leave your house basically from now on.
No, absolutely, no. I'll be swamped with people in the street saying, "I want you to come and be my antiques expert. You clearly know what I need in my house."
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Because Sarah Saul, you were on the news earlier this week. You thought, why is it so few days after you appeared on the news,
so what do you
we want to
Rob?
actually talk to you? Well, I have something here, and it says that you are the driving force behind Shop Stamford, work tirelessly to promote it. You see what it says at the top there, 4th line down. You're our hero of the week! And, wow.
Oh, that's lovely.
Tell us about Shop Stamford, because
you're
a real
surprise now.
Yeah,
You've
of course,
stumped me.
Absolutely. Well, this is, you're a retailer in the town centre, and your idea really is for everyone to get together and to join forces, especially the independent shops.
Yeah, and it's working. I don't think anyone has tried to get a team together as much as we have, and it's really, really working. We've got Burley, myself, Need Pubs, Stamford School, Stamford College, David Taylor, Invest SK, and we're all forming together to create some kind of board that's going to invest in all the independent businesses in Stamford.
And at the moment, I see you flitting from shop to shop, talking to everyone. You're trying to actually get stuff
in my lunch hour
planned for the summer.
Yes, it's Stamford in Bloom. Really behind that. I'm going to concentrate on Ironmonger Street and get it looking absolutely gorgeous. So I've been speaking to even the chains as well as the independents, and hopefully they'll be behind it. When people come into town, they'll be like, wow, doesn't it look beautiful?
And what's so special about this town?
It's just the community is my favourite. A lot of my regulars, they're just my friends now. After 22 years, we know what they like. Me and Claire, we've met a real big part of the community. So we just want to invest our time into that and make Stamford as busy as it can be.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk.